So today I've got a bit of a challenge. Now, I've got this little setup over here, and what I'm currently using, because the Wi-Fi signal into the garage, because obviously of the big thick brick wall there, isn't great, obviously that's a double skinned wall because you're going into the house, is I need to get a hardwired connection to around this sort of general area. At the moment I'm using one of these TP-Link power connectors. Now they're actually very good, they do the job. If you are going to use those, you do need to make sure they are plugged into an actual plug socket and not an extension or anything like that. However, through extended use they can become a little bit unreliable and need power cycling. So I want to use a dedicated CAT5 cable. Now, the first question is, how are you going to get it into the garage? And thankfully, somebody has very kindly drilled a hole at some point in the past and actually put a bit of conduit through. So ignore the fact that that is 1.5mm cable going to those plug sockets. I assure you that was not me that did that. That was probably the previous owner of the house, and at some point I will be upgrading that to 2.5mm, not typical lighting wire circuits. You can see the rest of the wiring there goes to these overhead fluorescent tubes. That aside, there is a conduit in the wall there which goes into the understairs cupboard, so already I've got somewhere that I can run through. The next challenge is we're going to have to look inside the house and see where we're going to go from there and how we're actually going to get the wire out to this hole. So in here we have the understairs cupboard, and you can see that you have a point there where the understairs cupboard actually ends, and beyond that beyond that wall there is the rest of the stairs. We have over here, probably behind these, what looks like the conduit to the garage, so we should be able to go through there. And we have, oh yeah, we have a light as well, that's handy. Now on the outside we have this phone socket here which goes up over the door, down, 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 and into the wall down there, which goes into another cupboard beyond this wall. Now here, if we went directly through here, we would end up actually on the stairs themselves. So we're going to have to continue going down there with the CAT5 cable, across, and then into the wall that way. So we will need to drill through the wall, but it shouldn't be too difficult to drill into, and we shouldn't need too long a drill bit to actually come out the other side. So we could come all the way along to about down there, so about there, and then we could go up over this door, up over here, so it'd be sort of up here, all the way up there, along top, down, and then through the hole. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually drill through the wall itself, and I'm going to keep it as low as possible, as close to the edge as possible. So I'll use a masonry drill bit and go slowly to start with, and then speed up as we get into the wall itself. So we're probably actually going through a wooden bracket, or so a wooden strut at the moment, which is fine. And there we are, definitely going through There we are, and we're out the other side. So I'll just check that. Yep, we have come through the other side. No problems at all. So we have actually gone through one of the studs, which is fine. So hollow stud, hollow, and there should be another stud along there somewhere. But yeah, we're through. So we just need to do another couple of holes. So we've got one that goes into the cupboard, and then we've got another one that goes from the cupboard out to just behind the radiator. So let's attack those, and then we'll be ready to start feeding the cable through. We have our holes drilled. The next challenge is to start feeding the cable through. So I've got 50 metres of CAT5 cable, and I'm going to leave the bulk of it at this end, and then I'm going to start feeding this through. Now I'm not going to start nailing it down against any skirting boards or anything just yet, but that is because I want to make sure that I get it all through, and that there's no sort of problems obviously with getting it through. So I've drilled a hole down here, and just need to start feeding it through. Now what you might find is you'll want to put something solid, or sort of like a rod, onto the end, so you can use some masking tape, put a solid rod on the end, and that can act as like a poking tool to help you guide it through. So in fact, let's get that sorted now, and then we should be ready to go. There you go. So I've used basically a little nozzle from some WD-40 or aerosol spray, and that should hopefully go through, and it's hitting something on the other side, which I think is, I've got a feeling that's probably the shoe rack, given that this cupboard is the shoe cupboard. So if I pull that forward a little bit, you can hear a lot of noise of me in the background. I should hopefully have on the other side my cable, which I do. So I can just now pull on that, and that should come all the way through. So I'll give it a little persuasion at this end, and that will start to go through. And as you can see, it's through. Now, because it is a coiled up cable, you just want to help it through, like so. Obviously, don't be afraid to pull on it. What I like to do is get as much of the cable through so that I've actually got enough to take it for the rest of its journey, because you avoid situations like this where you get the rest of the ravelled up cable, which you would be ultimately fighting against. So if I do that now, there we go, so I've got a little bit there. And that, there we are. Ultimately that will come through. So I'll carry on doing that, and then we'll be ready to get it through into the next phase. So this is what we have so far. We've got the cable running into the garage, and I've pulled it through into the garage and put it to somewhere where I can terminate it. And then in here, just run the cable out of the way. It doesn't have to be particularly neat because it's inside the understairs cupboard. And then just run it down to there, and then out and along. And I've actually run out of these, so I need to finish that job off at some point when I get some more of those. Some of the cable clamp things. So I've run it as neatly as possible along the skirting board for now, up the door frame, and obviously because I had run out, I've cable tied it to the existing foam cable that's running up and over there, and then over and then down, and then it goes into the wall down there pretty much next to the foam cable. So in the cupboard itself, excuse the mess because I'm in the process of at the same time also cleaning this cupboard out as well, so excuse the mess on the floor. We tend to clean this cupboard out once every sort of couple of months or so, and this is actually sort of fallen in line with that particular schedule. So what I need to do in here is just basically cable tie this to the existing run of telephone wire, as you can see there, and then once that's done we just need to terminate at this end and get it plugged into the back of the Sky router that you can see over there. So we will come back to that shortly. So the final thing that you need to do once you have run your cable is we're going to need to terminate both ends of the cable. So this is one end of my cable, the other one is obviously in the garage. Now to do that you do need a few items. I purchased this little thing off of Amazon, and it contains everything that I need and a few other things aside as well. What I was quite pleased with is I've actually got a punch down tools. I lost my last one. You also need some of these CAT5 crimp pens, or RJ45 crimp pens rather. You've got a little tester here which comes complete with this 9-volt battery, which is handy. You've got the main item of the party, which is the crimping tool itself. You've got this, which is for stripping the sheath off the wiring, and there's also this little sharp blade on here which allows you to trim the wires off before you feed them into the RJ45 connector itself. You've also got this as well, which is another wire stripper, but that's actually for the individual wires themselves in the RJ45 cable. So here we go. So I'm going to take off approximately, let's have a look, probably about that much. And there you are. Now you'll notice you've got your twisted pair cables. So there are going to be 4 twisted pairs. Now each cable has a solid colour and a twin tone colour. So obviously you've got orange with orange and white, blue with blue and white, green with green and white, and brown with brown and white. And then there's this stuff which is a sort of part of the cable itself. Now we need to separate these and actually get them into a line, and I'll be putting them onto the screen very shortly. The mapping, oh sorry, not the mapping, the order that you need to have these in, and I'll keep that on the screen whilst I get all of these into an order. So obviously we do need to untwist them to a certain extent, and we'll probably actually need to trim them down a bit as well. So you can see this one, this is orange and white. So yeah, I'll get these sorted out. Now something I will show you before I start to unravel the cable is this clicky bit, the retainer. You turn the connector upside down like so. I'll just zoom in on the connector and get focused. Oops, if I hold it straight. Okay, this one right on the very left is pin 1.
We're pretty much there as regards the order. So from left to right, orange and white, orange, green and white, blue, blue and white, green. Then you've got solid brown and brown and white at the very end. So I just need to swap those two over. And what you have to do is you just have to straighten them out like so, so that you tease them into the right position. And then once you've got them pretty much there, they need to slide into here. Now there's an individual channel for each cable, and to make sure that you get them into the right one, we need to chop off the top bit to make them as equal as possible in length. So I'll just find something that is useful and can be used to do that. So a pair of scissors will do it. And I also can possibly use my CAT5 crimping cable. I can utilise this bit here. Get all of those kind of in the right place, like so. And then I'll just trim off the ends, like so. And there we are. Now we've got equal length ends, which will make it easier to feed into the connector. So here we are, we've actually got it in. I just need to pull it back a little bit so don't have those exposed at the end. So you can see I've got enough of the insulating cable there. And from left to right, you've got your orange and white, your orange, your green and white, blue, blue and white, green, brown and white, brown. Now you take your CAT5 crimping tool cable, which is this one. You feed in the cable connector itself, and then you crimp. You'll hear it click like that, and once it's clicked, you're in place and you're done. Now, I've got another end that I need to go and terminate, so I'm going to go and do that. And once that's done, I will show you what you need to do in order to test the run. So this particular tester flashes in sequence, so it's actually testing each run of the cable. There is a termination tester at the other end, which will be flashing the same sequence. So we go 1 through to 8. And that signifies that we have a good connection and we are ready to go. What we will do quickly is check the other end and make sure that that's doing the same thing. And there we have the other end doing the same thing. All that remains now is to obviously caulk off the holes just to make them a little bit neater. I've got to apply some more nail-in cable tie things, cable strap things, just to keep it in place a little bit better. And then when I come to paint the kitchen, I can paint this as well, and that'll just disappear. So we can obviously now take our connector and plug it into the back of the router, and we now have a wired connection out to the garage. Now, if you have found this video interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care and thanks for watching.